Teddy covers in the house, fresh off that giant win for Eastern Michigan that he put us all on. Teddy, thank you for that glory. A lot of guys went on the money line as well. So, added to our pockets, which we're very thankful for. How are you doing on this Wednesday morning?
So that's my job, Jimmy. I appreciate the kudos, but that's my job. My job is to come on this show and give you guys good information. So when I give you good info and it works out the way it's supposed to, that's me doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't expect any credit for it. That's my job. It's a rainy day in Vegas, man. It hasn't rained since like thunderstorm season in the summer, so it's all cold and dark. But I'm feeling pretty good this day, Jimmy. How about yourself?
I had an interesting day yesterday. College basketball went very poorly for me, but my morning looks that I locked in NHL were really nice and plus money lines, and then I added 3 plays in NHL, and then I lost all of those. So it ended up being a disappointing evening, but I'm going to make up for it now, and I want to talk NBA with this giant NBA card. I want to start with one game in particular, Houston Rockets at Denver Nuggets. Do you have a feel on this spot? Are you making a move here? Denver is sitting as 1-point favorites, and this total is 222 or 222 and a half. And as you know, Rockets have won 8 straight. And the Nuggets seem to step up when they play the best competition and then play down to the level of competition depending on who they're playing. What do you think of Rockets Nuggets here?
So my first lean was Houston. I did not pull the trigger. There's only one move that I made in the NBA tonight, and I think you're on the same game. I heard you talking about it just before. It's a game that makes a ton of sense, and the line is right and everything, but we'll talk about that in a minute. When it comes to Denver and Houston, I'm not looking to step in front of the Rockets right now, flat out, and here's why. All right, we know that at the beginning of the season, the offense was hit or miss. They were cold shooting threes. The defense wasn't very good. During this winning streak, the defense has gotten better and better and better. And we talk about players that matter, that have been in and out of the lineup and don't really affect the point spread. That's Clint Capella. The whole team is different with him on the floor, offensively and defensively. He doesn't affect the point spread. He was banged up in and out of the lineup. He's back now for Houston. And I'm in no rush to step in front of a hot team that's clicking on both ends of the floor right now. I'm not. And I remember last year, Denver's defense works really well against a lot of teams. Against a team like Houston that spreads the floor and then plays a lot of ISO, it didn't work as well. And I remember the Rockets getting good looks against the Nuggets repeatedly last year, winning 3 of the 4 meetings. They lost the first one, but they won the last 3, and they won a couple of them in pretty easy fashion. And I don't know how to put my finger on it. We talk about important games in November. There are no important NBA games in November. And the players know it. And Denver, to me, is a team that, they haven't clicked yet. The light hasn't come on yet. I haven't seen the Nuggets play that, that defensive dominance that they were doing last year where they were just shutting teams down for like the fourth quarter. Forget about getting a good look. Maybe it'll get there for Denver. I'm certainly not giving up on the team, but I haven't seen it yet. So my lean was Houston. I didn't pull the trigger. Just a lean.
Well, I'm going to leave it alone at this point. And then I expect you're going to say that you are backing the Utah Jazz with Jay Money and I. Is that the play for you?
Yeah, it's the play. I'm stunned by that, especially if Wiggins is out. I've got to report Wiggins has got the flu. He's not going to play. I thought this was a healthy Wiggins line. And Wiggins has been, there has Towns and Wiggins have both played like superstars this season. The T-Wolves supporting cast doesn't thrill me. And you want to talk about a meaningful revenge spot. The T-Wolves just got hot in the fourth quarter and won at Utah. It's their first win against an opponent with a winning record all year. These two teams are very different defensively. And then it was all a fourth quarter. They got hot in the fourth and hit a bunch of shots, and that's how that game went down. Now you have the short turnaround revenge for the better team. Utah. And remember, that came immediately after the Jazz played that really emotional game in Memphis. They came down to the wire with Conley returning home. They were flat the next game. I don't see them being flat here. Yeah, Utah's a clear choice. Clear choice. I wouldn't argue with anyone that wants to make this a step-up size wager.
Wow, and 11 games on the card. We break them all down, and I'm sitting with 2 bets. One is a prop, and one's a Utah Jazz. Sometimes that happens. You take what the league gives you, and I don't need to force action here. very interesting spots on this card. Your Bulls in a very interesting spot against the Pistons. I only say your Bulls because you've backed them a few times this year. What do you think they do against the Pistons here at home?
So I'm really mixed on this game because again we talked about the Pistons in their get right spot last Friday, and they went to Charlotte and they had them beat, and then they gave it up in the last minute of the game, and then we're hung. There's the span of one game in a week. They only and now they're getting back on the floor. I don't know that I want to step. I mean, Chicago hasn't been right from day one this season. They've underachieved to their talent level. They're supposed to take the next step. It hasn't happened. I'm not sure if it's Boylan. I'm not sure if it's the injuries. They're not healthy. Marketing hasn't been very good. He's not hitting shots. So I'm looking at the Bulls as this team may come together at some point, but right now they're not a team I'm excited about. From a spot standpoint, it's a Piston spot, and I think they might be good enough, but I took my shot with Detroit in a get-right game, and they didn't get right. So now I have to see it before I take another shot. So the lean is Pistons. I did not pull the trigger.
And then we got to move on, and we've been sitting on this card. I feel like I should be able to find more angles there. Okay, let me try to get through this pretty quickly, but I need to ask you about this Magic Raptors spot. Jay Money's second nickname is Revenge Game Jay. And he's backing the 0-4 on the road Magic against the 5-0 at home Raptors. I'm not on the Raptors. Raptors coming off as good of a game as I've seen them play with 40 assists against the Hornets. What do you think about this spot, Magic, Raptors? Raptors open as 4-point favorites. Now they're just 3-point favorites. Orlando was barely beat. Like, they barely beat Washington. They're barely beating teams. They barely beat Washington. They barely beat San Antonio. And it's 3 points with an 0-4 on the road. What do you have a lean in Magic Raptors?
So let's start with this, all right? The point spread's telling you what you need to know in this game, all right? Where Toronto seems so easy and, it's easy Raptors. And at first glance, hell yeah, easy Raptors. Orlando's not as good as Toronto, right? Even without Ibaka, even without Lowry. So I watched the Magic against the Wizards the other day. And that was a very misleading final. Beal got red hot down the stretch and literally single-handedly carried Washington back in the end. They were down 16, and then next thing you know, they're down 4, which speaks to Orlando's ability to close out games. They're not a team you want to lay points with, but they weren't life and death to win that game. They were comfortably in control, fell asleep, and let a guy get hot. Their defensive numbers are tremendous, and that's why the markets are having as much support for the Magic as they are. It feels easy for Toronto. It smells bad. This one stinks to high heaven. Interested to see what happens with Vujovic going back to his former squad. I'm not laying with the Raptors, and that's the only way I could look. The markets are telling me that I don't want the Toronto tonight.
Yeah, it's a tricky line, and we hear people backing the Magic here. We got a couple questions from the chat, and we need to move quickly. Ronnie Christie wanting to ask you about this Cavaliers Heat spot. We know that Tristan Thompson's resting, and Larry Nance is back, and we're expecting Dragic to be back in the lineup after being sick on Saturday. The Heat playing very well, but they've been off for a few days. They've been off since Saturday, and I kind of have a little feeling about a Cavaliers first quarter sneaky little bet with the Heat not trying hard enough. I have not pulled the trigger. Ronnie Christie asking you about this spot, Cavaliers Heat.
I mean, the Cavs have been blown off the floor the last couple of games, really badly, and it cost me money. So, when I get slapped around a couple times in a row, I'm saying, oh, yeah, this is my team, It's a game I'm not playing the game, flat out. I would not argue at all with Cleveland first quarter, first half to come out strong. That was, Bayline was not amused by what happened against the Knicks. And it wasn't any better the next time. I mean, it's been a rough go for the Cavs just the last week. And Nance is a difference maker for this team, but they're not deep, and Thompson matters. I'm not going to get involved in the game. I mean, the one other one that I was thinking about was laying 12.5 with Philly. Knicks off a win. Knicks off a big win. Philly annihilated that team last year. That's the only other one. 3 of the 4 meetings, the Sixers just ran roughshod against the Knicks. But laying 12, and I'll lay doubles much more we get into the dead time of the NBA season. We start to get into February and March and the doldrums. this early in the campaign, I don't lay doubles very often. So Philly was my only other lean on the card.
We have a question from Anthony Devonti. He wants to know what your thought. Very interesting game. I'm on DeMar DeRozan over 22.5 points in Spurs Wizards. I think he woke up against the Mavericks, and I've watched him very closely throughout his career. This is a team where he can eat against, especially a team that doesn't rebound. Anthony Devonti wanting to hear what you think's going to, if you have a lean on either spot here. San Antonio -2, longest losing streak since 2011, 6 straight and 8 of 9. This total opened up 239.5, it's now 237 or 237.5. Teddy covers Spurs Wizards.
That DeRozan looks makes a ton of sense to me, Jimmy. Really does, because defensively, the Wizards are a little bit lacking right now. We can put that, and a little bit lacking means they're horrible. They're Golden State on the defensive end of the court, and the Warriors actually played defense last night with Draymond Green back in the lineup. I would expect them to be significantly better defensively than they've been. So we can call Washington one of the worst, if not one of the worst defensive team in the NBA, which makes sense for betting player props over against them. When you're talking about laying points with the Spurs on a 6-game losing streak, I ain't going to do it. I'm not doing it. San Antonio's no good. They've been a point spread disaster area. Let them show me first. I can understand your thought process, but I'm not getting in the window with the Spurs. They have been flat out overvalued from day one this year. Disaster for anyone who's been backing San Antonio. And when you see a team like that, I'm not trying to catch the falling knife. Let's see him cover. Let's see him win. Let's see him do it again. Then we'll talk about San Antonio as a possible team you want to back.
I agree. I completely agree. And, you just have to take what the games give you. And I'm just going to stick with the low quarter. Although, the more we talk about things, I am quite interested in the Cavaliers' first quarter against a sleepy Heat team that will wake up immediately. Okay, there you have it. There's our NBA card right there. So, my action here in NHL and NBA. NHL, I'm loving the under 6.5 a Giant plus money in the Capitals Rangers. I love everybody hammering the over there. You can get plus 115. You can get plus 120. That just puts a giant smile on my face. Especially after everything that David Quinn has been saying. And look, David Quinn, he cut Michael Haley from the team for that penalty. He benched Buchnevich. This is serious shit to David Quinn. And then in NBA, I'm on the DeMar DeRozan over 22.5 points. I actually already sent it in. And then I'm on the Jazz -3 at this point. But it scares me, David Stewart saying that all this sharp action coming in on Minnesota. But I'm comfortable where I stand. So let's move into college football. We are coming off a nice night there with Eastern Michigan. And a lot of love coming in for Teddy from the chat for that spot that he put us all on. Here we go. I have to start with this Akron matchup. I have to start here, Teddy, because our gas station sushi, who is a fabulous capper, a spectacular capper, lives in Vegas, a guy I enjoy hanging out with very much, a great thoroughbred capper, caps it all. He is max betting Akron at plus 30.5 tonight, and man, do I find that interesting. We have to start with Akron, Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio opening up at minus 30.5. Now there's 31.5, so it's total gone from 45 to 44.5. And there's no more exciting bet that I've heard all day than gas station sushi max betting Akron here. What do you think about his max bet? And are you making a move on this game?
No and no. I have no opinion on his max bet. I wish you nothing but luck. And when a team loses straight up and against the spread their first 10 games of the season, there is, in theory, real value on that team. And when we look at this point spread, we haven't seen Miami O in this point spread. I guess they laid 36 to a FCS school back in September. Didn't cover, only won by 31. But Miami O is not, this is not the offense that's explosive, that's going to march up and down the field and put up points in bunches and score touchdowns on every drive and the quick strike touchdowns. But Akron is the worst team in college football. And when you put your money on point, I haven't seen the effort from the Zips. And I know they got a couple of touchdowns late against Eastern Michigan last week. Okay, maybe that's a buy sign. That was at home. This is on the road. Easy pass for me. No interest whatsoever, side or total.
Ty Clinton is also on Akron as well, saying Miami doesn't have anything to play for. All right, and then a question coming in about the total. 7-Eleven Sports Live saying, what about the over, Teddy?
So I need to understand the concept of Miami O has nothing to play for, because that doesn't make any sense to me. They're on this is a MAC team on national TV against an opponent they can beat. It's not like I don't look at that as a clear flat spot. I don't. Total wise, again, anything you're asking Akron to do, whether it's get stops or score, I don't trust them to do. So when I don't trust a team to score and I don't trust them to get stops, I can't get involved in the total because Akron can't do anything. You understand? I mean, they can't do anything. So they can't. And if you watched, if you've watched this team, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So Mio scores as much as they want to score. I don't know. I have no opinion on the game. I'm not getting involved.
All right. I was waiting for Seth to jump on the Akron plus 31, given it's week 13. I was waiting for Seth to jump on that. Okay. There we go. There's Akron, Miami of Ohio. Let's move on to Toledo, Buffalo. Buffalo opening up at -6.5. They're getting hammered. They're 8.5 in most books, 9 at Pinnacle. This total is stuck at 50. Actually, it's not. There are 54.5s on the board at Heritage and Bovada. Teddy covers Toledo, Buffalo.
Yeah, so this is why I can certainly understand the Buffalo money. All right, let's start with that. And especially what happened last week against Kent State, which you guys remember. They're up, was it 27-6 with over 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter? And they give up a touchdown, and they give up the onside kick, and they give up another touchdown, and they get 3 and out, and they get a punt blocked. And next thing you know, they lose a game that they dominated. Dominated. And now they're back home against an opponent who's, the joy of their season ended with the Northern Illinois loss last week. So I can fully understand the money on Buffalo, but it's already gone. It could have laid 6.5, could have laid 7. Now you're laying 8.5, 9. Can't win that way, especially with single event national TV games. You just can't. If you didn't bet Buffalo early, if you need action, fine. But when you miss key numbers, you're taking what might have been a good bet and turning it into a mediocre or bad bet. So Buffalo's don't make it look, but the number's gone. From a total standpoint, I'm impressed with this Buffalo defense. They are blowing up the line of scrimmage. I don't know that Toledo's got issues at quarterback again tonight. I'm not convinced the Rockets are going to be able to run the football really well here. So I guess I lean under in this one. If I had to make one play in action tonight, it'd be the under in this game.
The under in this spot, interesting, sitting at 54.5. Very, very interesting. Okay, we're going to move into Teddy's action. We're going to talk about the looks he's already given us. We do have a question that's come in about NFL, and I will close with that. We're going to hammer NFL harder tomorrow. Actually, why don't we do that right now? Because it is the Thursday nighter. We can get a heads up on what Teddy's thinking about it. Why don't we start with that? And then I have some interesting questions that have come in. Teddy, what are you thinking about the big Thursday nighter, Colts, Texans? Let me just pull up the line very quickly here. Move over to NFL on the best odds page in the business, sportsbookreview.com. We have a 3.5 strong for Bovada, 3.5 strong for the Texans at home. The Texans and the total opened up 46.5, now down to 44.5 at Pinnacle, and the Colts dealing with a ton of injuries and big ones at that. Teddy, you have a move for Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, and look, that SBR odds page should be open all day. Just leave it open in your browser, because that's the kind of thing you see when stuff moves. You're like, oh, I got to move on this. You nailed it. That's the kind of I have nothing but love and respect for the SBR odds page, and it's free. Okay, so I encourage you with that. And geez, man, these morning shows, I'm getting distracted. You were talking about a game that I was interested in. Now I lost track of it.
Colts, Texans.
Thursday night football.
Nighter.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I get locked on one thing. I need more caffeine. I know what it is. It's November. You get gassed in November. All of a sudden the attention span's gone. That's a little rough. Like, oh, what about this game? And I'm like, yeah, I got all these thoughts, and then they're just gone 2 seconds later. Texans and Colts. I'm not playing the game. Let's start with that. I'm not playing the game. Flat out, not side, not total. There's a ton of injury question marks for both of these teams. What happened to Houston last week, we haven't seen. All right, we haven't seen that at all. And in theory, they're supposed to bounce back strong. They're supposed to beat up on someone. And Deshaun Watson, he hadn't lost a game by a regular season game by more than a touchdown since his sophomore year of high school prior to last week. But then we say, how did that happen? Well, It's a Texans offensive line that has been spotty at times this season, and it had a really bad game against the Ravens. And it's a Texans secondary that could be missing 3 of their 4 starters this week against Indy. And that's a concern for me, even in a bounce-back spot for Houston. Offensive line and secondary, 2 places where you don't want injuries because the markets don't adjust as much as they should for those. I mean, nothing's more important than offensive line and secondary other than quarterback, obviously. And that's 2 injuries where we're talking about, big problems for Houston. So I'm not going to lay with the Texans. And then we look at Indy, and you talk about an injury report that looks ugly. Does Indy have any skill position talent players healthy anymore? I would expect the Colts to have some success in the trenches. And if I had to play the game, I would probably be Indy plus. But the other factor is when you talk about the back half of the NFL season, you don't take the road teams on Thursday night. You can do it early. You can't do it late. The long-term sample size is like 40%. And if you're trying to pick into a bag of 100 marbles and there's 40 white ones and 60 black ones, it's harder to get winners. So in general, at this stage of the campaign, the Thursday night games, I'm not getting involved with the road teams unless I have a damn good reason. And I don't here. Easy pass.
Yeah, it was a shocking loss. I mean, mind you, the Ravens are a very good team, but 41-7 was shocking. Just shocking. Okay, we're going to start breaking down Teddy's looks here in NCAA football, but we have an interesting question first. And that is, and let's not spend too much time on, oh shit, that's on a different page. Let's not spend too much time on it, but it is interesting enough. Paul Costa says, Jimmy, ask Teddy if he has any gambling superstitions when he's on a heater or in a slump.
So I used to have a lucky urinal. I kid you not. Back in my early days in Vegas, before I had the Sunday ticket, I would go out to the casinos and, watch. I would watch at the Santa Fe. It's a locals casino on Sundays because I knew I could get a seat. They had the big screens up and they had the TVs in front of me. And started the fourth quarter, tight game. I'd wait in the bathroom for my lucky urinal till I could get down in that one. But realistically, that was 20 years ago. I'm not very superstitious. There's a guy I won't talk to. There's a guy's a mush, and he calls me on Sunday morning. I won't answer his calls. My buddy Duke. He's a mush. I mean, I've never seen a person that's more of a mush than this man. So I guess there's a little superstition. But I don't have lucky underwear or stuff like that. I'm relatively light on the superstitious side at this stage.
I am as well. I am, don't really believe in luck that much, but I, sometimes when I'm losing and Pete got me into, keep wearing a jersey or keep wearing the, Pete had this blazer that we all thought was hilarious that I would wear when I was losing badly in baseball to try to get out of the slump. I can understand when you're slumping, but when you're winning, I just try not to let that stuff get into my attention. Okay, let's move on. So Teddy's plays that he gave us already, Eastern Michigan plus 4.5 cash. Now, Eastern Carolina minus 13.5. He crushed that market move. Illinois plus 14. Texas plus 5.5. San Jose State minus 4.5. Beating line moves is what he does. Now, you were thinking about Memphis, Nevada, Marshall. Have you made any additions to those 5 plays you gave us on Monday?
Yes, I have. I've made 3 additional bets, and I've probably given up on 1. Marshall got to 7. I'm probably not going to get there. The more I thought about that game and how big that game was last week for Marshall, the less I wanted to lay. And especially now that 6.5's gone to 7. I'm off that game. That being said, I put Memphis minus 14 in my pocket yesterday, betting number 119 at South Florida. That number is disappearing quickly. I'd get involved sooner rather than later. And I put Nevada plus 14 in my pocket at Fresno. And that might go higher. I didn't get the best of it with Illinois. That number's gone higher. That's fine. Let it go higher. Maybe we'll get another unit down in Illinois before this week is through. But Memphis and Nevada. And I made 1 additional play on a rogue line, betting number 194, Tulsa minus 2.5. Bookmaker had a 2.5. Do they still have a 2.5? They might. But there was a rogue 2.5 on that game. I don't even know if Smith is going to play. I was looking all over for it. And I couldn't find accurate info on it this morning. I will look again tomorrow. But I thought that Tulsa at 2.5 against Houston, I don't want Houston this week. And I didn't know that there was only 2.5 out there. I'm like, let's put it in my pocket. I wouldn't argue with a 3 in that game as long as Smith plays. Even if Smith doesn't play, the line will crash and then we'll get a better number. So But I put 2.5 in my pocket with Tulsa. That's, again, betting number 194. I like the Hurricanes coming off a bye and their opponent. I'm not convinced Houston has a lot left in the tank.
Tulsa minus 2.5, Nevada plus 14. And what was that you got on Memphis?
Memphis minus 14.
Memphis minus 14. There's Boogie Lover Q in the house. Boogie Lover Q, you've been gone for a little bit, and everybody's been asking about you. So very nice. I'm very happy to see you back in action. Says everyone been killing the books. Business taken off beyond my wildest dreams. Had to switch my schedule, but I'm always thinking about you and the fam. Okay, that makes me feel great, Boogie Lover Q. A lot of people asking about you. You have... You definitely made an impact on a lot of our lives, Boogie Lover Q. Okay, there we go. So those are Teddy's additions to Eastern Carolina, Illinois, Texas, San Jose State. He's added Nevada, Memphis, and Tulsa. And we have questions coming in right now. Questions coming in. And also, I'm going to go over Matt Randall's action as well. We love that you've sent that, Matt Randall. Okay, the questions coming in. Sorry, let me go back to the other page that I had everything on. And Dutch Boy Fresh getting it started here. Dutch Boy Fresh wanting to know what you're thinking about this spot. Oh, sorry, got to move back to college. My fault. Let me just get back to NCAA football. Spreads and totals here. Was stuck on NFL. About Utah State. And let me move over to it. I believe it's 214. Let me find it here.
Yeah, it's down near the bottom. I got it. 213, 214. Yeah.
Beautiful. He's wondering what you think about this market move towards Utah State, because there's 8.5s on the board now, opened at 7.5. 8.5 point dogs now. Utah State at home against number 20th ranked Boise State. Are we starting to get value on the home dog?
We need to hold off on this game big time because both quarterbacks are questionable. All right, and whatever money we're seeing is from injury reports coming out of practice on the two QBs, and you don't want. I don't want Utah State without Jordan Love. I'll put it that way. And Love undisclosed injury. I found nothing about it, but it's definitely worth paying attention to. He's an impact player, straight up and against the spread. And Backmeyer's questionable for Boise, and I mean Boise's done okay without him. They're better with him. So that's a situation where we got to follow those injuries and pay attention to the quarterbacks and see everything you can find out of practice today. And we'll see if we can get more info.
All right, so let's hold off on that spot right now. And speaking of these late games, quick take on Hawaii going from -1 to -3. Do you agree with that market move?
No, I don't agree with the market move. The market's crashed on San Diego State. We talked about that, and they have. And I mean, my number's been legitimately off the last couple of weeks. The market number with the Aztecs, and I understand that the Fresno game last week, they only won by 10 points. If you watch the game, it was complete domination. San Diego State sometimes has there's a force field in front of the end zone for that squad sometimes. And you don't want that against Hawaii. The offense 17, 24, 26, 27, 20, 13, 17, their last 7 games. Or what's that? Yeah. And they're not lighting up the scoreboard. And yet, I trust their defense. I watch them move the football. And I say, one of these days, this offense is going to click. They're better than Hawaii. If they show up, they'll win.
That's very, very interesting. I could have predicted that that's what you were going to say, and that's why I asked you about it. Let's move over to 25th ranked Virginia Tech. They opened up at -3. Now they're at 4.5 at Pinnacle 4 everywhere else. Did we miss our spot to back Virginia Tech? Do you agree with this market move? It's also gone from 48.5 down to 46. So moving towards the under and moving towards VTech.
I do agree with both of the line moves. And certainly, anytime you're getting down at the number that's already moved and moved past key numbers, you're getting the worst of it. I understand people want action, but at a minimum, you got to bet less. At a minimum, you got to bet half units there instead of units. And you can do it, but track your results on those plays versus everything else you're betting. See if you're catching, if you're getting stuff after because I'm not talking about if you missed a half point on Monday, that can happen. But when you start talking about, I missed a 3 and I missed a 4, and now I'm going to lay 4.5. That's why we do this early in the week. And you can get, again, it's not going to kill you, but I would not be betting full units at bad numbers. I wouldn't. I think Virginia Tech's better than Pitt. I think maybe a notch or two better than Pitt. I look for Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech still has a path to the conference title. If they win here and then they got Virginia next week. Yeah, absolutely. Hokies are pass for me.
Hokies or pass. Okay, we've got to put a bow on this show. We have a lot more college football to get to, but we have Teddy every day of the week here, so let's not panic that I needed help. It was me being selfish on the NBA card right now, so it was me, and I apologize for that. We'll get more questions coming in quickly. Teddy, very quick take, because I know we got to go, but Farshad Asami wondering what you think about the big Cowboys-Patriots game, and we'll talk more about it, but any first feels, any first angles on that giant Cowboys-Patriots look?
So I'm not playing the game, all right? I don't believe in New England, and I don't trust Dallas. And that's just that simple. The Patriots are vulnerable, and when they face a good team, they're going to get beat. And I'm not convinced that Dallas is that good team. So it's going to be I will not play that game. But recognize that line's not getting a 7. It's not getting a 7 for a reason. There's market disrespect creeping in for New England again, and I think deservedly so. The both of these teams have pretty much only beaten patsies for the majority of the season.
Very quickly on this spot here, opened at 46, the total down to 45.5. Dallas's defense is not good. I mean, this was a defense we thought was going to be top 3 or top 5. They may be bottom 10. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but I want to go over this total. What do you think of that? I know that New England can stretch D with long passes, but I think this goes over the total because we know Cowboys offense is rolling.
I don't want to bet this game over. I would, in fact, if I had to make one bet, it would be under. Because the Patriots defense is good, all right? And the Cowboys defense didn't play great last week, but that's not a bottom tier defense. Their defense is just fine. And I would think that when Dallas has the ball, New England's defense is going to have their fair share of success. And when the Patriots have the ball, that offense is all dink and dunk. And I think both teams are going to want to keep the opposing team off the field offensively. And I would expect long drives as opposed to quick strikes. Lean under.
Okay. We got lots more time with Teddy Covers. He'll be here tomorrow morning and Friday morning at 11:50 Eastern time. Teddy Covers, thank you so much for joining us. Follow this man on Twitter. If you're not Lowbaggers everywhere, follow this man on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Teddy, have a great Wednesday and can't wait to work with you again tomorrow morning, my friend. Thank you for all your hard work and insights.